What's going on, Southeast region? So glad that you were able to make it to Success is Under Your Command. Here is a video session that we had near the end of the day. It was session 5, and we had some technical issues that actually ended up killing the original video. So let me set this up a little bit because we're going to give you guys a walkthrough of how to essentially set up lead automation for an open house. So here's the vision. Someone walks into an open house, they either scan a QR code to go to your open house landing page, or they end up filling it out on a tablet or a device of some kind. As soon as they do that, Command is set up in such a way so that you automatically are able to send them an item of value in exchange for giving you that information. And so we're going to walk through what that looks like so that when you have an open house this weekend, you're going to be able to capture every single person that comes through and even put them up on a follow-up plan. So here we go.
So let's dive into the lead management automations, how to get more leads with automations, how to follow up with your leads better through automations. There's so many things you could title this segment. And it's one of the coolest features that I think we've talked about in the past few months. I mean, it's probably one of the coolest things I've seen come up. I can't remember, Patrick, you mentioned there was an agent that had come up with this idea. I want to make sure we
Yeah,
give due
absolutely.
credit.
Yeah, Randy Welch, that's out of our South Forsyth Market Center. He was one of the first agents I heard to use this particular system. And basically, the idea is that that you add an item of value for when someone comes in to say to scan, say, an open house form, that they get an item of value in return. So we're going to walk through real quick. So the idea is they come into the open house, they either scan a QR code or they fill it out on a tablet or whatever. We capture their information, and then from there, we are able to automate that through to Command, and they will get that item of value, and you will also put them on the smart plan. So why don't you walk us through that, Evan?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And another way to phrase that hook that I like to use sometimes, it's like, hey, if you tell someone, the example we like to use is like property condition disclosures and things of that nature, which if you're watching this, you might be able to do that, but talk to your broker before to make sure that anything that you're sharing is, of course, allowable in your local market. But if they fill that form out, as Patrick was saying, boom, immediately they can be receiving a text message with the link to all those documents before they even leave the house. And how we're going to set that up for you guys, right? How you're going to do this for yourself is we're going to first come in to our website, right? I want to just show off a couple of things really quick, right? And the first thing that's a highlight is how do we actually make the open house page, right? How do we get a landing page where we can connect a property to it and get people's information and put it into our database? And in the new website experience, they've made this phenomenally easy. I'm just going to go and say, hey, I'm doing an open house this weekend at DeKalb Avenue, right? This 2072 listing. It's a beautiful house, beautiful listing. So I'm just going to click on it. Alternatively, you could search up the listing on your website. I just happen to have it in my featured properties. So that was very convenient. But you could also just search the home up. As long as it's active on the market, this will work. So I've got the listing pulled up here. And all I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here to the top. And I'm just going to add /open house to the URL bar here. That's all I'm going to do. I'm going to hit enter. Okay, so we're in Chrome. We have the listing page pulled up. And here we are. We have our open house as well. All we did was add that /open house in. And once again, I'm just going to fill in some fake information here, right? Just so we can actually see how this works. I'm going to type in Walker, Texas Ranger. At gmail.com. Great. As we all know, Walker Texas Ranger is always looking for a house. There we go. Boom. Boom. We're going to check these boxes here as well. This is something that the client will easily do, that way that we do get their permission to reach out to them. And then we just hit submit, and boom, we hit that submit button, and suddenly we can come back into Command, and we will notice that we will have a new open house lead that has come in. We got Walker Texas Ranger here. He has come in. But before I go and look at that contact, I just want to note that what the client sees is they're going to see on location a link to the actual listing itself, where they can pull their phone out and get the full listing with more information. And then all we have to do is make sure we come back here to back sign in. That way the next person can put their information in.
So this
And
is
the
if
next-
you were, if you had one on site, like a
Yeah.
tablet or a laptop, they would go back on sign in. And then also as the
Yep.
agent, if you have your command app downloaded and notifications enabled, you are going to get a push notification to say, hey, somebody filled it in.
100%.
Awesome.
And as you mentioned there, the having a tablet or laptop on location to me is always the highest and best way to do this, because you're creating less friction. You're making it very easy for the client to just like, oh, type it in right there. Now, there are occasions in which that's not an option for us, right? Maybe we don't own a laptop or a tablet, or maybe we don't have internet on location. One of the other things that you can do is you can make a piece of printed material and have a QR code they can scan and get to this page on their own device. To make a QR code, it's really simple. When you're in Chrome, you're going to right click on this white space here, and you'll see there's this create QR code for image that you can do here. I'm sorry, not for image, but create QR code for this page that you can select here. Be careful, if you right click on an image, it does say create QR code for this image. That QR code, if you generate it from here, it is just going to be that picture on its own. So we want to make sure we're using that white space where you see that little icon, create QR code for this page. Boom, there you go. You can download it, put it on any flyer, anything that you'd like to put into the property, so people can scan and get to that page. With that being said, personally, I think the best way to do it is to have the laptop or tablet on location. Coming back into command, though, we see that we've got that notification that Walker, Texas has come into my open house and he's signed in. So I have a new lead. And what you're going to notice right off the bat, he's already been tagged as an open house lead. I've already put him on a smart plan. He's already getting information, right? So he's already been sent an email with some really cool stuff in there. And we're going to show you how to do that in just a moment. The next thing we want to do is actually deliver on the promise of giving them some value, something that they can take with them. And the best way to do this, right? So let's say if it's, let's say I got I want to put in some property condition disclosure for this property, let them know that maybe I have an awesome drone video as well of the property that I want to share. And I just want to make sure they get that immediately. The best and easiest way to do that is by actually coming into Google Drive, right? In our actual Google Drive. And what we're going to do in here is we're going to make a folder, make that folder public, and put those items of value in that folder so that we can create a link that lets people download directly from it. How we're going to do that is we're going to click new on the top left, and we're going to make a new folder. You can call it whatever you want. I like to just be simple with open house docs. That's usually pretty straightforward. Note that anybody that clicks on the link you're going to send them, they will see the name of it, right? So keep that in mind. Open house docs is the name that I'm going to call it today, and it's going to be an empty folder right here at the top. What I want to do is I want to open this folder up by double clicking and put those files in there. And what I'm going to do real quick is I'm actually going to go into my documents and try to find something that I could just throw in here. I don't know. Those are my taxes. So maybe I won't use that. Awesome. I'm going to put this vendor program in here. I'm just throwing in a random file, right? All I did was I drag and dropped it. Alternatively, you can come to new and do file upload, and you can pick from here, right? I can do new measurements. Now, I'm just putting in random PDFs for this example. This would be the documents that you'd actually want to share. So if you had like the MLS printout that you wanted to put in here, those related disclosures and property condition or seller disclosures, you can put those in here. That way, when people click on the link, they'll be able to download them. Now, I've made the folder, but I have not made this shareable yet. What I need to do from here is I actually need to click on this little arrow, and I need to come down to share. Now it says copy link, but I don't want to click that yet. I want to actually hit the share again right here and make sure that under general access, I make it anyone with the link. And what that does is this makes this folder share. You might notice now that there's this little icon that says shared, that lets you know that you did it right. You did a great job if you got that, right? And we can copy that link at this point. Now, the other thing I need to do is I need to come back into command and I need to go to smart plans. I want to make sure that I actually have a smart plan set up for sending this information out and also have follow-up in there. One of the best ones I think you should go do is come into the library here and then search by author name. I'm just going to put in Patrick Malden, our awesome regional director of technology and resource here in the Southeast region. He's got a plan in here called Open House Follow-Up Plan General. This is a great follow-up plan for open house leads. And I'm going to click Add to Smart Plan. I'm going to give it a name. I'm just going to throw that in there so that I actually download it. I probably got 15 copies of this thing. I'm going to hit download. And then once I've done that, I'll actually see it in my list of smart plans that I can use and put people on, right? Now, anytime you download a smart plan from the library, one of the things we always recommend that you do is actually go in and edit that plan. We're going to do so here as well. And we're actually going to edit this first step that says send email, because I want to actually put in a little bit extra, right? So we've got this email here, contact first name. It was great seeing you at the open house. So glad we were able to connect. And I understand everyone's in different places in homeownership journey. What sort of timetable are you looking at? I'm going to edit this. And I'm also going to add onto this email, I'm going to say, here is a link to the documents that we discussed today on location. And I've got my cursor there. I'm going to come back to that Google Drive folder. And I'm going to come back into the share again. And I'm going to make sure this time I actually copy that link. When I do that, that copies it. I can come over here and I can actually paste that link. And boom, there it is. So that link is now in this email. It's going to send them that link. When they click on that, it's going to take them here where they can download the files that are inside of it. You'll also notice something about the name of this folder, the fact that I'm using that particular link, and the fact that at no point are we mentioning an address in any of this copy that's in here. We're keeping it very general. That way we can actually reuse this over and over again for every open house that we do and not have to come back in and make a bunch of edits every single week that we do an open house. Even in this case, if it's 2 weeks later and I'm going to host another open house, I can always come back to this folder, remove these documents, and put the new documents in. That way I don't have to change out the link. Because again, that link, that share link, it's not sharing these individual documents. It's sharing the folder that those documents happen to be located, right? So that way I can always come in and go, all right, next week, I'm going to get rid of these documents here. And I'm just going to add some new ones. I'm just going to add the same one.
And so you're also saying in this that if you decided later that you wanted to add additional documents or you had some sort of special value piece you wanted to share, whatever, you're not required to just put those same things in there for that same property. By sharing the folder, it gives you the flexibility to put whatever you want there.
Yep, absolutely it does. That's 100% correct. Now, the last thing that we need to do, because we're not done here, I'm going to come down, make sure I hit save changes on the smart plan. And I'm going to save this plan. Because at this point, we haven't shown off how the automation part works. We've shown the smart plan, we've shown the folder, we've shown how to set up an open house page. I want to come back and look at this lead one more time, Walker, Texas Ranger over here. And I want to also notice this particular spot right here, lead source, open house with parentheses, site. This is actually important for the next step that we're going to do, because lead management does not just work on one lead source type. It works on any lead source type that you want to use. We need to make sure that people that enter this out, what source does that give so that we can automate getting them put on that smart plan? In this case, it's open house site. So what I'm going to do from here is I'm going to actually come over to my name, click on settings. I'm going to go to command settings on the left-hand side, contacts, and lead management right here. Now, I've already got a rule set up. You can create your own rule by clicking the create rule button, but it's going to pull up what it looks like this. I'm actually going to delete this rule just so we can see the creation process. I'm going to say create a rule. I'm going to give the rule title called Open House Follow-Up. And for lead source, this is the spot where I have to use the same one as from earlier. So I'm going to type in Open House, and you'll notice there's 3 options. The one that you're looking for is called Open House in parentheses site. If you pick one of the other 2, this will not work. So I'm going to make sure I select that. Perfect. And then it asks the question, what do you want to happen to these leads coming from these sources? Okay, well, I want to tag them right away. Definitely want that. So I have an open house tag that I've already made. If you have not made one, you can feel free to create a custom one right from this menu. I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then I want to say, hey, when people come in with that lead source type, I want them to automatically be enrolled on my open house follow-up plan. That's the one that we just made. And I create that rule. And what you'll notice if I go back to Walker, Texas Ranger one more time, that rule being set up in lead management is why he came in. Let's look at the timeline over here on the right-hand side. He came in on the property inquiry on the DeKalb Avenue listing. His source was set to open house site because that's what he came in on. Lead management kicked in and went ahead and enrolled him in a smart plan. And then that smart plan went ahead and sent him the email. So that's the time of events. And notice the time on each one of these, 11:09, 11:09, 11:09, 11:09. That means this all happened instantaneously because of the lead management rules and the smart plans that we set up. We were able to fully utilize all of our automation capabilities inside of Command to get that value delivered before Walker, Texas Ranger ever left the house.
I love that. And so in adding to this, somebody could technically add a text step for Twilio as long as they're following TCPA compliance and that they could add that to the beginning, and they could even get a text instantly as soon as they get done filling it out because they're getting email and everything, and it's triggered directly. Is
100%.
this
If you're a
just
user,
limited
go
to
ahead.
open houses, or are there other use cases that we would have for this sort of lead triggering?
So there's a lot of different use cases, right? If we come in here and come to command settings, back to lead management again, notice that there's a lot of different lead sources that we have. Contact form site, contact form app, events, email, door knocking, Facebook ad leads. This is a huge one, right? If people are using campaigns, they can use this to automatically get tagged and enrolled on follow-up plans. Google ad leads, right? Google Forms, Google Sheets, depending on what kind of connectivities that you have set up, landing page site, things like that. Open house site, what we just talked about. And there was one in particular, property inquiry site for anybody that inquires on property on your site. There's one that I'm looking for, and I can't remember what it was called, Patrick, but
Looking for the
believe
home
it was,
evaluation.
that's the one I'm looking for, Patrick, and I cannot
Yep, I
remember.
believe it shows
There it
home
is.
valuation
Home valuation site, right?
Yep.
And so there's lots of different use cases where you could do this. And then if you ever just want one for all, you can select all, though I would be careful. Usually management is very use case dependent. And usually you want to match exactly what that use case is for. The best way to find out what these opportunities are is to actually go to your website and go to different places where you collect leads and see when that lead comes in, what does that source actually say they came from? Right? Because that's actually super important. In this case, that was one of the first things we did. We looked to see what was the lead source for this contact. In this case, it was open house site. So, hey, go on the website and put some fake info in on different places and see what source they come up as. Because that's going to let you guide, or that's going to guide you and help you plan out what you want people to receive based off what they've done on your website, whether they filled out a home automation or a home valuation, whether they filled out a property inquiry, whether they were at an open house. There's different smart plans that you might use for any of those.
Absolutely. Well, Evan, thank you so much. This was super helpful, and we appreciate you getting on, being a part of Success Under Your Command as well. And if anybody needs to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get you?
My email address is evan@retechninja.com. That's the single best way to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Sounds great. Thank you so much. Appreciate you, sir.
Thank you.